Welcome to the Collaborative Resource Hub by Wellness Provisions. Our mission is to bridge the gap between mental health, wellness, and music, specifically rock and roll. I'm Amy McBride, owner of Wellness Provisions, the most badass wellness business. Wellness Provisions supplies rock and rollers with high-quality supplements. We give you a trustworthy place to go where you can essentially shop blindfolded. Our wellness kits were created out of a need to simplify your shopping experience and make it stress-free. You'll get the most effective nutrients in the least amount of bottles with the least trial and error. Immerse yourself in the Collaborative Resource Hub by going to our website where you'll have access to helpful resources that can nudge you in the right direction. Let's inspire each other. If that guy did it, so can you. Find the Collaborative Resource Hub interviews on YouTube, all major podcast platforms, and get cool music and wellness perks by supporting us on Patreon. Last but not least, my legal disclaimer. Nothing in this interview or the Collaborative Resource Hub substitutes medical advice. Please connect with your GP if you need medical guidance. So we have an educational episode for you today. Seth Bovio from Superior Electrolytes is chatting with us, and you can learn all about electrolytes. He says that minerals are the key to hydration, not just the electrolytes. And it's true. And a lot of people are their bodies are off balance by drinking too much just plain water and not getting not enough of the minerals to balance that. And these minerals are important for nutrient uptake and oxygen and helping your cardiovascular system. So tune in and learn about why electrolytes are really, really crucial. Seth from Superior Electrolytes, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Amy. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So Superior Electrolytes makes electrolytes. What is the mission behind the company?
Well, first, Superior, the name, it's the French spelling. I was on a trail run in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, where my wife is from. And I saw a sign that said La Lac Superieur, whatever the French pronunciation of Superior is.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait I ran sub 7-minute pace to get back to where we were staying and to tell my wife I finally figured out the name. Superior is the original French spelling of what is now Lake Superior. And up in Lake Superior, eagles fly solo. We were going to start an independent company. So the name it's really more of a where and who we are. And we only make electrolytes, and we are an independent. Everybody that's a partner of mine was one of us, packing orders, shipping orders, selling product. We're 100% worker owned, and we don't have any interest in any kind of funding. And we love that we can use better ingredients, have a big gap advantage over our competition, and have fun doing it.
Yeah, that's awesome. What in your life kind of drew you towards helping people through what is now electrolytes?
My mother used to win races. And so as a kid, I'd be a 6 or 8 or 10-year-old, and I'd go to a race, and like the Cleveland Marathon, I remember being there. My mother was second in that race.
Oh, wow.
Of the women. But I remember I had one of my siblings, my brother, was in a stroller in front of me, and we're standing there at mile 25 or 26 towards the finish. And I'm standing there with a bunch of women basically waiting for their husbands to come. This is 40 years ago. And not so many women used to run marathons. Now I think it's mostly women running marathons. But back then, so all these wives were waiting for their husbands, and here I am, go mom, and my mom would beat all of them. And so she'd run Boston, and she'd run New York, and she'd run LA and all the big marathons. And she'd basically, all the elite runners, including her, would get special bottles. Like, there's whatever on the course, the sponsor, why do all the best runners get these special, what's special about these bottles? Is it a better version? And she simply said, we need electrolytes, and the product that's marketed might have 2 or 3, but it also has sugar and colors and preservatives and things I don't want. I'm very sensitive. I've run my share of marathons now. The last thing in the world I want is my stomach to be breaking down something that's not natural, or that's hard on the stomach, or acidic.
Yeah.
And colors are totally unnecessary, for example. And anyway, that's how I got into it. And then I was a chemistry major in college for a year. And then I became a business major because a guy I worked for who made an electrolyte drink for a company in Columbus, Ohio called Exceed, which was big back then,
Uh-huh.
mid 80s, told me if you want to make the drink, you're going to have to become a business person because us chemists just do whatever we're told to do. We don't really get to create. And some years later, I ended up visiting my grandmother who had written books about herbs with her mother on the Rio Grande River in New Mexico. And I told her I wanted to make an electrolyte drink. And she said, let's go to my garden and see what we have. And I thought, oh my God, why did I even bring this up? So she started pulling leaves off of, she showed me stevia. The plant, we're not talking about the sweetener. That's not something I'm interested in, but the
Right.
actual herb and other herbs. And then we went to her orchard and we picked some lemons, and this is Carpinteria, California, and we put something together, and it actually was undrinkable, but it was a start. And
Uh-huh.
that's how I got into this.
That's awesome. Were you into like herbs and stuff like because of your grandma?
Well, my mother used to drink brewer's yeast, and we would eat escarole. And I now know it took me years before I realized why we ate what we ate when I was a kid. It was because she was getting protein and B12 and all the nutrients she needed to compete. And she was really good. My
Yeah.
dad was a decent runner too, but my mother was quite, I mean, she'd win most of her races.
Yeah.
And and like most kids, I didn't really get it, but I was around it and I saw it and I saw the gardens and I witnessed it. And then as I matured, I became very interested in it. And I have been most of my adult life. And then I married a woman from Lake Superior who happened to be the art director for an herb company in Utah, Nature's way back when. I met her in the 90s. And she helped, she's basically gotten me to the next level where it's not natural, it's actual that matters to me. Something that comes out of the ground, not something that's made in a laboratory that mimics something that came out of the ground.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I've moved up levels each decade.
Yeah. So that's actually so like a question would be then why is food source nutrients so important?
I Vitamin C is a great example. We use acerola berry. Acerola berry, it's a little tiny tart cherry. You can find it in, say, Barbados. Little tiny, can't eat it, so tart cherry. And it is, I mean, there's acai, there's so many of these sort of trendy berry vitamin C sources. Amla is another one.
Mhm.
We picked acerola berry, but the key is vitamin C is not just ascorbic acid. Ascorbic acid can be mimicked in a laboratory, kind of like citric acid can be made in a laboratory, and it's beneficial, especially if you're on a ship for months. Prevents scurvy.
Right.
However, I have plenty of evidence. Supplements Exposed is a great book by Dr. Brian Clement that I like to show people, where they talk about the miracle, and it is, of creating synthetic vitamin C because of the ability to pack it, preserve it, and take it on, say, a trip on a boat or in the
Mhm.
heat. But it doesn't compare to the complete vitamin C. And I'm talking about the other components besides ascorbic acid. And the evidence shows that the absence of that, let's just take paprika, which is in Supplements Exposed, the example of a source of vitamin C that's complete. Um, it's it's noticeable that the advantage of food versus lab. And I think that in America, we went from packaged to frozen to miracle, back to frozen to convenience, but now we're getting to natural. And I think the next step is actual. And I say actual, not natural, because you can call a synthetically made vitamin C natural, but there's really nothing organic about the process.
Right.
That's controlled in a laboratory. But you can pick a berry and you can extract from it in a method where you use the whole food. And I think that's really what people are going to look for more and more.
Yeah. So you're saying that your product has like the other cofactors present as opposed to just isolating one specific slice of the pie.
That's right. We don't just have ascorbic acid, which is listed as ascorbic acid. Another common synthetic form of vitamin C that we see is calcium ascorbate. Again, these are great, but I prefer the food because the food has the other components. And yes, that's what we use, and that goes right down the line with all of our ingredients. Um, so that's important to us.
Yeah. So what's the sodium
That's another
derivative?
example. Sodium chloride. A lot of people don't realize the bleaching process and the stabilizers could be corn derived, dextrose. You don't not enough that you have to list it, but some people don't want any sugar, not even the sort of hidden amounts. These aren't considerations for us. We don't use processed sodium chloride. I understand it's practically free. If you'd stop by a gas station or a donut store, you could collect a fair amount of it, but um, pink Himalayan sea salt, on the other hand, has 80 minerals, and a lot of people know it's better. They don't know why. The reason why is the other minerals. And I've gotten letters from competitions stating you have no proof that pink Himalayan sea salt's better than sodium chloride, and it's mostly sodium chloride. And my reply is, you're right. I don't, I don't need it. Our customers don't need it. I want the minerals, and they're there, and that's
Yeah.
the color.
Yeah. Have you heard, because I've heard this, and I'm just curious if you have that pink Himalayan salt can actually stabilize blood pressure, whereas, like a table salt, iodized table salt would increase it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, there's the health benefits, and we're in a world now where people are recommending, when I say now, immunity is key.
Hmm.
And we have people, I have friends actually, I didn't know this until a couple of weeks ago. I have a friend who lives a half a mile that way, who is a long hauler, meaning he has had COVID symptoms for 200 days. And the long haulers aren't the only ones. Some people just got it. Um, I don't want to get it. I haven't had it. I'm pretty sure. But the bottom line is immunity is so critical right now. And uh, real minerals, the mineral sources are key. And we could just eat greens. I have Halsey Farms right down the street. I can get all my greens. We eat fruit. I've got a persimmon in there that's almost soft enough. But electrolytes are a little harder to get and make sure we get. And the minerals that are, I mean, selenium, zinc, and phosphorus are electrolytes. A lot of people don't realize that. We don't need much of them, but they come in these sources that we use.
Yeah. So you actually said minerals are the key to hydration, not just the electrolytes.
That's right. And specifically, if you take magnesium as an example and you look at a magnesium supplement
Mhm.
at a health food store, you're going to see other minerals with the more expensive versions. Those other minerals help you absorb it. Minerals work together. And I think that nature's food, there's a reason why there are 30, 40 minerals in a green leaf because they work together and they're necessary for absorption. Potassium is the gatekeeper to our cells. I've spent a ton of time studying with sub 4 minute milers, running 4 minute miles on treadmills, and measuring the absorbability, the osmolarity of the electrolytes. I have extensive, I've spent some time that so valuable, and my competition, I don't know that they even, I don't know if it matters to them, but measuring absorption. And when you tinker, when you play with the balances, the heartbeat increases. I've seen 8 beats per minute increases from less minerals from well-known electrolyte products.
Mhm.
And the correlation is it's a balance. You don't need a mega dose of anything like sodium.
Yeah.
Um, it's balance. Uh,
Yeah.
the sodium, by the way, I get people. I've made the electrolyte drink for some of the big marathons, and I've run some of the big marathons, and competed as well as I can. And I get people say, "Oh, I'm a heavy sweater. I leave a trail of salt behind." And a lot of companies in my business say we're going to replace that ton of salt, and they have 100 milligrams, 50 milligrams, 500 milligrams of sodium. I don't eat that much sodium in a week.
Right.
Put it in
But is
fat.
the body even absorbing all of that if the
No,
balance isn't right? So
no, it's
it's
rejecting it.
right,
Therefore, they're leaving a trail of salt behind.
right.
We don't want to replace what the body's rejecting. We want to replace what the body's using. And now we're talking about electrolytes that we need micrograms of, like selenium, zinc, and phosphorus. Chromium, for example, it's not an electrolyte, but it's a mineral that very much helps our blood absorb the other electrolytes.
Interesting. I didn't realize that about chromium. That's cool.
The other minerals, they all have a purpose. And molybdenum, there are some that you see in all these. When I say 30 or 40 minerals in a green leaf, well, there are 80 minerals in a C derived mineral. But what are the 40, 30, 40? Well, you're really kind of narrowing down what's necessary for absorption. I don't think it's interesting how a green leaf specifically gives us what we need. So
Yeah,
many.
yeah. How are electrolytes important for like a rock and roll musician?
Energy, replacing energy, hydrating. Uh, I'm a musician fan. I have a couple celloists here. I got a cello right here at my feet. Um, we listen to a ton of music. I've seen a ton of live music, and I
Yeah,
can't wait to the next time. Um, but I'm also a yogi and a runner, and I sweat a fair amount. And I'm a spieler. I'm a salesman. Uh, I tell you, I'm never more wiped out than when I'm speaking.
yeah.
And then you throw in the heat and the activity and the motion and the travel.
Mhm.
These are all very dehydrating circumstances, and so we love hydrating musicians. And musicians don't want junk. They don't want sugar. They don't want colors. They just want to feel better, perform better, and wake up and feel strong.
Yeah,
And if they don't, hydrate quickly so that they're ready to go. And specifically with musicians, and this is with everybody that needs hydration, skin, hair, nails, all important for music, depending on what you play. We use bamboo stem. It's an ingredient none of my competition in this country uses.
yeah,
Bamboo stem is rich in silica. Silica, Google the 7 benefits of silica. One of them is its detoxification, maybe pulling metals out of our body. But another is skin, hair, and nail hydration.
yeah,
It's a green leaf,
yeah,
and bamboo stem grows here in New York. We get ours from Washington State. It's an organic way to hydrate.
yeah. That's awesome. What do you sweeten your electrolyte formula with?
Technically, we don't sweeten it. We don't use the sweetener stevia, which is a marketed brand owned by a huge corporation. It's marketed as either Truvia or Reb A.
Uh-huh.
Reb A is the patent, publicly held by a large company. That's a sweetener. That's the only version of stevia that can be called a sweetener. So we don't use a sweetener, but we do use an herb, and
Okay,
it's a
right.
plant called stevia leaf extract. Now, again, it's another green leaf, so you're going to get some minerals in there,
Yeah,
but it's a way to you could say it enhances the taste and balances the acerola berry, which is tart. The acerola berry is a big part of our flavor.
hmm,
Um, but if you lick if we grow stevia right here in the backyard as well. The stevia we use in our product comes from South America or California. It's a water extracted leaf. It's not processed with the 42 steps of alcohol like the sweetener known
right.
as Reb A, Rebadioside A. It's a patented. We could find that formula online. No, we use an herb instead, and you can use a water process, and you can pull the components out and get that nice sweet taste without having to add any kind of sweetener. We
Yeah,
also don't use any color at all.
and it doesn't taste like people say like, "Oh, I hate stevia." That stevia taste.
Right. I get a lot of people that say I hate stevia. I'm with them.
Yeah,
Uh,
right.
but they may not have tried the leaf.
Right.
And you can go to your local nursery in the spring and buy an organic stevia plant. It's not the prettiest plant, but it's also not the biggest plant.
Yeah.
So you can tuck it in behind your tomatoes and it'll grow easily in any climate. And we're a zone 6, 7 in New York here, but grows fine here. And you could take a leaf and put it on your windowsill, let the sun dry it. And when it's all dry, you can crumple it up into your tea. And boy, it tastes a lot better than a lot of other things I could add to my tea.
Yeah. When I was 15, I was like my first like real boyfriend that I had. That's how I kind of got introduced into the natural world, I guess, because he took echinacea and he had his little jar of, like dried stevia that he put in his drinks and stuff. And I was like, huh. And then that was it. The gate opened.
Where do my girls find a guy like that?
um, do you have any podcasts or books that you read or listen to, maybe wellness related, that
I
you like?
have. I listen to more. I'm a runner. I'm on the trails every day.
Yeah.
After this, I'm going to go to Mashashamuet Park in Sag Harbor and run my 6.1 mile loop. And I will listen to a podcast, but I listen to more stoic. Um, I'm a little, I've done my share. I like to get out of work and out of that mode. And I'll listen to uh, my podcasts are generally, I'll listen to interviews and I'll listen to more self-help, more business. That's not my specialty. My
Uh-huh.
specialty is the herb side. I get
Sure.
the plants.
Sure.
That's, you should see what we have here. And my kids are eating kale and actually like it. Um, the first time all my kids threw up was the first birthday party they went to when they were 5 and somebody gave them a juice box.
Yeah.
So it's hard for the first time. But anyway, I have listened to podcasts about what I do, but I like to listen more to podcasts about how I want to be.
Yeah. So what are some like self-help, or you said stoic, like stoicism, like philosophy
Yeah,
ones?
stoicism. I have a few. There's a few. The Daily Stoic is one. I mean, there's I don't I love parts. I learn from the interviews and I like parts of the podcasts. I
Cool.
also, when I run, I listen to Howard Stern's interviews and I just listened to Wolfgang Van Halen's interview. And
Uh-huh.
that was an 80-minute interview. I ran 8 miles for that one. And I love listening to his interviews. They're always musicians. He lives about a mile that way, the right way.
Yeah.
Uh, I think I think he's here now. I don't know, maybe in the city, but either way, his interviews he loves music and I love
Yeah.
listening to those. So, again, when I'm listening to podcasts, I'm generally trying to get out of what I do the other 14 hours a day, which is working with, uh, healers, Reiki, yoga, health food stores, and explaining the difference and advantage of actual sources of minerals versus, I mean, the products we compete against don't list any milligrams from plants or sea minerals. Maybe a couple do. There are a couple decent ones out there, but none of them list both.
Mm-hmm.
And the companies that have the best sea derived minerals don't put any plants in there. They just use ascorbic acid. Um, and so I've sort of done that for the last 25 years.
Yeah. Right. Um, so if anyone really, musician or just, a human, if they, maybe go out to a bar or they're drinking or something, would electrolytes be good to do before, after, in the morning, something like that to help kind of balance out the body?
Yes, yes. And I think the simple rule is, if I'm going to go to a bar, which is kind of a dream of mine here in New York, I haven't been to a bar in a while, but if I were to, I would take my packets and I would have one packet in a glass of water per uh, IPA or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And I'd be so much happier in the morning, especially here in my 50s. I don't want to feel, I don't want I don't want to remember, um, I don't want any souvenirs of the night before. And
Right.
it's a world of difference. And if I do wake up with the droggy feeling, or worse yet, a headache, it doesn't really happen to me. I'm ahead of it. But if it
Mhm.
did, 2 servings of my product, the what an electrolyte does, electro means energy, light is derived from the word to carry. So specifically what we're doing, whether it's a leg cramp or a headache would be a brain cramp,
Yeah.
we're increasing oxygen flow to the brain. That brain or muscle is seizing up. A leg cramp, we prevent those at night, make them go away first night.
Mm-hmm.
It's when the muscle or brain needs more oxygen. The way to get more oxygen to that muscle are the electrolytes, specifically potassium, magnesium, selenium, zinc, phosphorus. Everybody knows about sodium. We all got plenty of that, but there are 5 electrolytes we need milligrams of, and then 3 we need micrograms of. Those 3 that we need hardly any of are key, and that's why we use the plants and the sea-derived minerals, selenium, zinc, and phosphorus. A lot of people talk about zinc now with immunity. Absolutely. But the oxygen flow is then increased. That headache will go away in 10 minutes. Um, it's unbelievable. And we work with a lot of people with POTS and syndromes where they may, POTS, somebody might get out of bed and then faint. They can't get up. And it's not that uncommon. And our product is so quickly absorbed because of the lack of sugar, because of the lack of tricks. Sodium chloride, I would, my studies have, the studies I've been a part of have shown that if you put a bunch of salt in your gut, it's going to draw water from the brain, from the muscle cells.
Right.
Actually, the opposite of what we want. You're going to feel bloated. If I drink a bottle of whatever that you can find at the regular grocery store and it has a lot of sodium in it, I'm going to feel bloated for a little while after because my stomach has just brought more water than I wanted in my stomach.
Right.
I want the water and I want the distribution to the muscles in the brain.
So I've heard at some point along the way, if you, I guess like if your body, we are electric and like a circuit board or whatever. And so like if you're just drinking too much, just plain water, you're actually kind of like putting out the circuit board. Is that, I mean, like, I guess what is the downside
Hyponatremia.
part?
Hyponatremia. Again, marathon runners, every now and then you hear about somebody that runs a marathon and drops dead on the course. Terrible. Um, how can that happen? One of the ways is exactly what you're talking about, flushing the mineral content. The cells need those 8 electrolytes. The 8 electrolytes, again, we need 5 in milligrams. That's chloride, sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium. And we need 3 in micrograms. That's 1,000th of what we need the milligrams of. Selenium, zinc, and phosphorus. Those are the minerals. They're in our cells. Without them, we slowly increase the heart rate, and that can become dangerous. And so, over hydrating, actually, over too much water,
Yeah.
not enough water, both very bad things.
Hmm.
And with COVID and with people that can't get rid of it, and it's a common thing, they're known as long haulers. More and more people are becoming aware of the long haulers. I became aware of it because of people blogging about our product and then calling us and saying, "How do I get this now?" My mom or whoever, me, um, and it's we need the correct balance of electrolytes in order to hydrate properly, and we don't really want anything that gets in the way, meaning a color or a preservative or even a sugar or some natural. I don't have a problem with sugar, but when it comes to hydrating, I want it faster.
Hmm.
Studies show that less sugar means quicker absorbability, osmolarity, and I've been a part of some pretty extensive studies with some Olympic runners that have run in multiple Olympics where it becomes clear.
Huh. Um, I was going to ask you, so, oh, what is I guess, the correlation between electrolytes and with the long haulers? How is that supportive of their bodies?
Yeah, I started and I didn't really get where I was going. One of the issues that can happen is AFib, heart issues. And
Gotcha.
it's, again, something that hydration can help prevent.
Hmm.
People can be in the sun and not realize they need to hydrate and say, I'm just going to wait. It's almost like running a car with low oil. The engine's overheating. Well, I'll just get there and wait. not going to work that way. It will become a problem and dangerous. And hydration is absolutely important. And with the long haulers or anybody that has any kind of virus, immunity and hydration are so critical. And we
Yeah.
feel such an advantage. Somebody gets the flu and they're throwing up. Electrolytes will, without the sugar, you're not, I mean, I've been there. You're going to get rid of, your stomach will reach as deep as it has to pull out. It's terrible, but little by little, we're going to get a little more in, and electrolytes are what our body needs. And headaches, leg cramps, any kind of virus, many sicknesses. There are plenty of studies out there um, that show that people that have diseases exhibit dehydration.
Mhm. Yeah. Most people do not drink enough water, aren't using electrolytes, or yeah, too much alcohol, too much coffee, too much soda. I mean, all of that is not,
Balance is the key.
yeah,
I like my fair share of coffee, but then I drink a ton of water. And
right.
then I also make sure I get my electrolytes, and it helps that I eat fairly well too.
Yeah. So for an average person, is one serving enough for a day?
I say one or two.
Mhm.
It depends on the diet,
Sure.
actually. If it's a truck driver that's driving and eating fast food and or microwave food, even so many of them do try so hard, but they're just not getting the minerals. Well, them 2 to 4 a day.
Yeah.
Um, but for me, I'm eating a lot of greens and I eat very well. But still, I'm running every day. And if I can, I'll practice yoga. And I run every day, and I'm burning 600 to 1,000 calories out there on my runs. And that means I'm also utilizing a lot of electrolytes. So for me, 2 to 4. But for somebody that eats very well, that buys their food at a farmer's market or an organic market,
Yeah.
you could argue you drink water and eat a perfect diet and you'll be fine. And but for that added dose of minerals, yeah, add one, maybe
Okay.
two.
Okay. What have you learned, I guess, along the way as far as any challenges that you faced and how you have, maybe dealt with them, or, that kind of, especially like if you're with your interest in philosophy.
Yeah, I there's an episode of Mad Men where Don Draper, his doctor, said, "How do you feel in the morning?" And I'll never forget that. And I don't know, somewhere in my 40s, and I'm genetically blessed and lucky, but somewhere along the way, I just didn't feel as great as I did the day before. And I don't know which day that was, but somewhere I realized I can help myself by really practicing, what I preach, and really eliminating the things I know I don't need, like
Mhm.
really eliminating them. And there's a visual of a stomach with chips, and the oil and the potato chips, the starch, and it fills it, to here, but we're not satiated. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I
So
got
you
a white
know.
one over here. And then they show the spinach, and it's really just a little bit of it and you feel full.
Yeah.
And that's how I operate now. So I think that it just, everybody that had spoken to me all those years, I finally started registering what they said. Maybe stretch a little bit more, eat a little bit better. And also I'm 53, and when I run, I try to stay on the trails because my Achilles likes the trails.
What is a favorite quote of yours?
I have a new one actually, and I learned that I, there's a band band of horses. I love Band of Horses. I want to use one of their quotes on one of our new flavors when we come out with one after COVID, I guess. But I can't get anyone to respond to me. But they have a great quote from one of their great songs, Detlef Shrimp. But that's not my quote. My quote is, "You were once wild here. Don't let them tame you." And I had to look. I don't have this one memorized yet, but it's Isadora Duncan, and it's over 100 years old, so I don't have to get permission. I can use it. We have a great Mark Twain quote on our watermelon can, but that's my favorite quote right now.
I like that. That's good. Well, awesome. This was cool, and it's good learning the nuances of hydration and the balance necessary with minerals and trace minerals. And thank you so much for making time.
Thanks for having me, Amy. It was fun.
Yeah. All right. I'll see ya.
Okay, bye.
What do you do? Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up.